the government should be restrained from doing the things that are considered crimes if its own citizens do them. Government is supposed to get its rights from the people, and if we as individuals don't have the right to do something, then we can't properly delegate those rights that we don't have to the government, who are just people like us. Let me give you an example in recent news that highlights what I mean here. Michael Schmidt is a dairy farmer who had the sheer audacity to sell raw milk to eager and willing consumers. More accurately, he offered shares in his dairy operation and made it a cooperative and delivered raw milk to his shareholders who wanted raw milk. That's why they bought in. And it's illegal to sell or distribute raw milk in Ontario for some reason, probably because of some busybodies. But a task force of police came to his farm, and in minutes, Schmidt sent word to his supporters who came to the farm, a group of them, and allegedly tried to convince the police not to take away his farming equipment and his product. Now, Schmidt was sentenced eventually to 60 days in jail for committing the crime of obstructing justice. It's not clear exactly what he did from what I read. I suspect that he didn't use any physical force to try to obstruct them, or he would have been tased or pepper sprayed or shot or something. There would have been some severe consequence. I suspect he just used some assertive language, said, hey, and got in front of them and said, what are you trying to do here? But it's not clear. And it's also not clear if he'll ever face charges related to raw milk at all. We don't know yet. But let's just take a look at this situation from a libertarian perspective. Let's look at it actually in concrete terms. Let's try to describe this in objective reality. Let's get rid of abstractions. Let's get rid of euphemistic language and call a spade here. A group of armed men showed up at a farm and left with property that didn't belong to them. That's what happened in objective reality. It was clearly implied, obviously, because they were wearing police uniforms, that if the property owner tried to stop them, that force would be used against that property owner, right? Had he physically tried to stop these people from taking his stuff, they would have tased him or pepper sprayed him or shot him or something like that. Now, here's my question, okay? Based on objective reality, based on flesh and blood humans and the rights we have, when do you think it's acceptable for a group of armed men to show up on private property and threaten force against the property owner? When do you think it's okay for that to happen? There are times when it's okay. From a libertarian perspective, we say that it's only acceptable to use force against other people if they are initiating force. They're trespassing someone or violating someone's consent or something like that. And in other words, you can use force to defend yourself or someone else from the aggression of another. So here's what we have to ask to see if it's okay if that group of men go onto that property with guns and threaten force. Is there an assault occurring? No? Is there a rape occurring? Is there a kidnapping occurring, a hostage situation? Is there an imminent threat of violence against the victim? Is there stolen property being hidden or something like that? If those are things that are occurring, then okay, yeah, you have the right to use force to stop those things from happening from a libertarian perspective. And by all means, get your posse together and use force and protect the victim, for crying out loud. Now, caveat here, I'm not advocating that you use vigilante justice or anything like that. Obviously, we want experts to use the force, the protective force, if possible, because, and this is actually why we try to delegate that to government, because they're supposed to be the experts at using force, and that's why we would prefer they use it rather than just average Joes. But the point is, if Michael Schmidt was raping, assaulting, committing violence, holding a hostage, hiding stolen property, then you have a moral justification and in a libertarian order, a legal justification to use force to protect the victim. And keep in mind that from my perspective, from a libertarian perspective, every person has the right to use force defensively, not just the government. This is a prerequisite to life. If you're not allowed to defend yourself or people in your family and community, then you're not allowed to live. So this should be day one stuff. But it also says means that you and I are not allowed then to arm ourselves, invade the property of another person, and take their stuff and then lock them in a cage for 60 days if they obstruct us. You and I don't have that right. If we did this, we would rightfully be locked in a cage to protect people from our predation. So a proper government would have shown up at Michael Schmidt's farm and protected him from a group of men with guns that wanted to invade his property and take his stuff. Instead, what happens? They are the group of men with guns that take his stuff. I find myself laughing about it, but this isn't funny. This man's life is in ruins right now. He's spending 60 days in jail. It's ridiculous. And this is not only the opposite of what government is supposed to do, it also makes a complete mockery of the criminal justice system. It leads to a complete erosion of respect for the people who signed up to protect others. Imagine you're a police officer, you sign up to protect others, and you're being given marching orders to go invade some guy's farm and take his stuff. I mean, it's messed up for everyone. But where does the government get this right? I mean, certainly we didn't delegate this right to them, so we don't have it. Well, this is where the magic comes in, okay? It used to be that kings ruled by divine right? The king's priest would be paid to explain to the masses that God gave that king the right to rule them. Well, people aren't persuaded by that argument anymore, so now we have a priestly class of public intellectuals who are all funded by government plunder, who explain to us naive commoners that the government is exempt from all the moral rules that the rest of us follow because of the social contract or some other sophistry that we accept at face value. And make no mistake, you know, the people that are peddling this stuff are true believers. They have to be, or they don't get tenure, do they? I mean, universities get a lot of public funds, and so obviously they're going to play the games and adopt the beliefs that will most likely help maximize their funding, let's say. So the government has become the very predatory thing it's supposed to protect us from, and it's even worse because at least a regular violent criminal doesn't pretend, they don't pretend that they're virtuous. They don't pretend to be protecting people. At least a regular violent criminal isn't viewed by the vast majority of the population as legitimate and virtuous. Okay, now I know some of you are going to say that selling raw milk endangers the consumer, and so shouldn't somebody stop that threat of harm? Now, full disclosure, I stopped drinking milk when I was a kid. I don't know that much about it, but given that government has literally created heart disease by demonizing fat and promoting carbs, I take their health warnings with a huge grain of salt. And let's say it is true. Let's say that raw milk has some risk to it, or that it's very risky even. I don't know. I see that as long as people are engaging in consensual activity, it's their own damn business what risks they take. I mean, I ride motorbikes, I skydive, I used to own a hang glider, I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, I ski double diamonds, I've fought in boxing matches, I've consumed alcohol, I'm a firefighter by trade. I mean, surely any of these activities are more dangerous than consuming raw milk. And I don't want to see any of these activities banned. They bring joy to my life. They make me a better man, I believe, and a lot of them. I don't want people who sell me these experiences and these products banned from selling them to me. Furthermore, I don't think you have the right to stop me from doing what I want with my own body. Even if you win a popularity contest and become an elected official, even if you're smarter than me, I still don't think you have that right. So I think people should be free to take risks and do unconventional things with their own body, even if it turns out those things are dangerous or cause harm. But to be clear, I don't think drinking raw milk is all that dangerous. There's probably some health benefits there. Maybe I need to start drinking raw milk. I don't know. Anyways, my party, the Libertarian Party of Canada, and I are trying to restrain government to its proper role. Its proper role is protecting people, protecting your freedom and your liberty, your freedom to control your own damn diet. Government should be protecting farmers like Michael Schmidt, who is exercising his God-given right as a free individual. It should not be invading his farm and locking him in a cage.